Central de Venezuela from 2016 to 17. She also is a YLAI Fellow 2017, Global Shaper and Active Citizen member. Maria is the co-founder and director of INCURSIONES, which is a Venezuelan social initiative created to provoke interactions between the city and its inhabitants. Since 2015, Maria has created different experiences that aim to reveal new opportunities within the territory, empower people to transform their context, and build communities through shared community. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, for waking up early, for all of us to be able to listen to you, and thank you for being here to share everything that your practice does, which is always so inspiring for all of us.
It is.
Of course, no, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm going to share the screen right now. Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe all of us can turn off our video if that helps you.
Yes, it could. Let's see. Okay, so let's give it a minute. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so I want to start giving you a little context. Can you hear me? Can you please tell me if you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna give you a little context about where I'm from. I'm from Caracas, Venezuela. Caracas is one of the most violent cities in the world. A consequence of this situation is the growth of a sense of fear of our citizens. According to a recent survey, 96% of people in Caracas do not trust strangers they come across in public. In Caracas, public spaces are no longer the place for encounter and collaboration, but have become the place of avoidance and withdrawal. Fear has slowly turned apart our social fabric. As a result, we have lost the capacity to freely organize ourselves, a process that typically happened in the public realm. In this scenario, 5 years ago, I co-created with two other powerful women, INCURSIONES, a laboratory of ideas and project that aims to transform our city's shared spaces and dynamics. We create this space with the shared belief of design as a powerful tool to promote social empowerment and dignification. Our physical intervention in public spaces emerged from intense processes of closeness and empathy with the communities. This results in projects that go beyond the resolution of technical and programmatic problems and consolidate public spaces as scenarios for justice and dignity, convergence, and interactions based on a sense of ownership and belonging. Now, today, I'm going to present you three of our projects, SPOT, that comes from Spatial Occupational Tool, the Catalyst Cube, and Paradiso. Now, to make this exchange as valuable as possible, I came with this idea of self-Q&A, and basically question myself, if I was in your position as part of the unit light infrastructure, what would I ask myself? Okay, that's the whole turnout point. So I'm going to start with the first intervention, that is a SPOT. As I said, SPOT come from Space Occupational Tool. It's a device for reclaiming neglected and misused public spaces. It's mobile, so it can travel around the city. It's small, so it fits through doors and on the back of trucks. Light, so it can easily carry it and easy to use. It is built on a light steel frame and thin metal sheets. It can be configured to provide sitting, flat surface, performance, backdrop, or podium for a wide range of crowds and activities, from guided participatory workshops in small groups to large spontaneous events. So as you can see, it's like a small, but it's a really small, tiny intervention, but then it's open up and allows everything, all these configurations to happen. Now, the program developed around SPOT centered in creating strong community connections to recover La Vega Square. La Vega Square, like this square that you see in the picture, it's located in a vulnerable self-construct, high-dense community, best known as a slum, a favela. We work with a partner organization. The name of this organization is Caracas Mi Convive. We work with them in a workshop with different community members. We want to understand the perception and how people relate to the physical space of this community. And this square emerged as a hotspot. I don't know if you're related to this concept, but violence concentrates in people and places. And when it concentrates in places, we call it hotspot. Our research here in Caracas shows that in Petare, one of the largest slums in the country and one of the largest slums in Latin America, 90% of violent activities concentrate in only 5% of the territory. So yes, these squares emerge as a hotspot. The sense of insecurity drift in a spiral towards people not wanting to occupy the space and create a place of misbehavior and illegality. This installation didn't arrive alone. We designed a program to achieve our goal. The objective of the developed activity was to recognize the space, its actors, and how to get involved with the square and with each other. We work with more than 500 community members, from children from surrounding schools, youth, and architecture students, through breaking the spiral effect and getting them to commit to occupy the space with different types of actions and activities. SPOT, or better said, people from this community conquered the space for 6 months and set the basis for the community to continue to work on their connections and the activation of La Vega Square. Now, I thought I was going to answer right away the self Q&A section, but I would like, to be a little more dynamic. I'm going to share all the 3 interventions, and then if you want me to address some of these self questions, you can do it at the end of the presentation. For the SPOT, I will ask myself how to deal with such an overwhelming problem as violence. How do you face these problems as an architect? And are you telling us that a small artifact changed the perception of the whole square? Okay, so these are my questions from the SPOT. Let's talk about now the Catalyst Cube. Catalyst Cube was conceived as a small prefabricated structure that would occupy public spaces in informal settlements. As you can see, this is not informal settlement, and it was part of a negotiation we have to deal with the client that allowed this installation to be possible. So the cube is designed to inspire social, cultural, and educational exchanges, creating an instant neighborhood focal point. The flexibility of its design and configuration allowed it to support a diverse range of activities, from basketball games and exhibitions to community events and neighborhood meetings. At least, its objective is to increase the opportunities for interaction, exchange, and development in its context, with the hope that these activities gather enough momentum so as to continue when the structure moves to its next location. The cube can help to identify opportunities in the neighborhood, giving the people the agency to define and curate public spaces for themselves at a time when the city physical and social fabrics is highly deteriorated. The cube consists of a steel structure with metal and wood components that can be easily installed, operated, and disassembled. It can be delivered to site as a whole or as a kit of parts, providing instant activation while minimizing disruption. Now, this structure was unveiled in November 2019, hosting a program of cultural activation and engagement. This includes theater, mop-up shows, as you seen, exhibitions, and other seasonal activities over the festivities period. Now, the self Q&A. Did you give the community some kind of implementation manual? Is the cube in permanent rotation between places? So again, if you want me to address some of the questions, you can do it at the end. Last but not least, we have Paradiso. Paradiso is an urban garden whose care and growth has been entrusted to the inhabitants of Caracas. This temporary installation provides a space in which visitors can regain confidence in one another and the city as the space that brings us all together. The key concepts of Paradiso are expressed in the design and layout of the garden, as well as in the interactions between users and with the installation. Now, how this garden works? Well, to enter the garden, the user must walk through a small tunnel closed by a vertical door. To open this door, as you can see in the picture, the user must ask to the help of two other persons. Once inside, a dense mass of plants block the view and invites people to wander around, discover the garden. The main space of Paradiso is a plant nursery. It is a small circular enclosure in which visitors deposit their plants. Once there, plants belong to the garden and depend on others to survival. In this sense, everyone shares the responsibility of looking after something that is not one's own. The plant, a present left behind by an anonymous donor, serves as a symbol for caring for things beyond the personal. Now, Paradiso is more than an urban installation. We work with an NGO that specializes in ecological preservation and education. Together, we organize a series of lectures and planting sessions with children from 3 different schools that were located in the surrounding of the square. These children became the main caretakers of the garden and helped spread the message to other visitors about the meaning and the care of installation. Paradiso was first installed in a small but busy urban square called Plaza Sucre. The square is part of what is known as the colonial center of the old town of Petare. I already talked to you about Petare. Recently, it's the largest slum in Venezuela and one of the largest in Latin America. Like, this is a picture of Caracas. As you see, like the difference, like the inequality is really present in our landscape. In one side, you see a slum, and just divided by the highway, you see like the formal city. So Paradiso is a public garden that provides a space of inclusion and illusion. It's a fragile installation, secluded from a conflict context in which the visitor is invited to help build a different kind of city. Now, the question from Paradiso is, so why are you sharing this not so mobile installation? That's it. I want to hear your questions, and I really wanted for you to, to have the framework of these 3 projects, and from now on, we can make this time as valuable as you can for, for your experience in the unit light. I cannot find the
infrastructure.
Yes, wait. Okay. Oh, I cannot find like chat. Let me see. Okay, here you are. I couldn't find you. Okay, so the fun part. Let's talk about what do you want to know about these installations, and from now on, we can make sure that this encounter can be as useful as you want it to be.
Should we? I think maybe we can start with your first project and the first two questions that you asked.
Okay, so you're interested in knowing. I'm going
Yes.
to. The first question was about the spot. The Spanish name is El Punto, and every time I say the spot, my mind thinks about El Punto. So, how to deal with such an overwhelming problem as violence? Okay, we work in a context that is extremely complex. So every time we went into a slums, we face poverty, we face hunger, and in previous experience, especially when we go with students, you have this sense of there's nothing I can do. This is just too big. This is just too complex. Like there's just nothing I can offer these people to actually make a difference. And what it's like a mindset we have, like we share with our students especially, and we are team members, is so you're telling me there's nothing design can do. So ask yourself, what design can do? Because I'm not asking you to solve the violence problem. I'm not asking you to tackle like poverty. It's all about a scale. What can you actually do to agitate something in the community? It's not like what we can provide or what we realize that is the most valuable thing that we could put on the table is, you know, design can accelerate things. Like you can see in a really short period of time, and it's what the Spot and Paradiso and the Catalyst Cube allowed us, is to see in a really short period of time how people can organize themselves and become and understand if they have an active role in their community. You know, right now you use like this installation as an excuse to accelerate this, you know, enlightened process. They can actually tackle bigger problems. Okay, so that's what we actually can do for themselves, what we can put on the table. Okay, this, for example, we have like this picture that they were never in the square from El Punto. It's this massive, like really beautiful square, and no one's, like teachers and parents do not allow children to go outside because it was so dangerous. And we put, which is kind of related to the second questions, that what is this small artifact changed the perception of the square? And the answer is no, it didn't. People did, you know. And we have this picture when you see like this little tiny installation, and it's surrounded by 100 people. And a week before, they say, you know, this is magic. Like this is all because of this little magic box. And the truth is, it's an excuse for them. It works. It's a provocation. Okay. So our role is to provoke this kind of interactions. At the end, why the square is now the perception change is because people was present. They care about it. The reconquer of the space happens because they involve in the reconquer of the space. Okay, an external person cannot do that for them. I live like in the other side of the city. It's not possible for me to go every day and, you know, and to just knock the door and ask them to just leave and go outside. So what happened is they did at one point, they don't use the Spot. They was just interacting to each other. We have 3 schools as Paradiso, 3 schools in the surrounded area of that square, and they did not know each other. Like they didn't interact at all. Schools, they never interact. And for example, if they want to use the Spot for, I don't know, like an outside class, and the Spot that week it was in the other school, they have to talk to each other. They have to create, you know, there is some kind of mediation and interaction, almost forced interaction, that, you know, it's like when there is only like one TV in your home and you want to see one program, you have to talk to your brothers and to get in the middle point. And that middle point is where, you know, it's something that should be happening already in public spaces, but because of this complex situation, economical, social situation, is not that easy. So here comes like this TV that you put in the middle of the square, and everyone wants to be part of it because it's innovative, it's weird, it's like, it's nothing that you ever see before. And at the end, they, like, the amount of time they spent using the spot compared to the amount of time they just spent like in the square is not comparable. They spent so much time just talking to each other. So yes, that's kind of the two questions that I really want to address with the point. No, when the first day, I remember like the first week with the students, they say there's nothing we can do. It's just too harsh. Like, I'm like, the gun is right there. They're sitting there and they know there's nothing we, like 10 people from all over, like across the city, can do to change the fact that no one wants to go outside. And the other thing that is really interesting, it's, let's try that. This is the magnificence of the point. Maybe it's going to work, but if it's not, you can model this artifact into another square or another space and try what would happen here. And well, that's kind of the challenges and the unlike things about the Punto spot that I want to share, you know?
So I think we can take questions for this particular project if anybody has like pressing questions that they would like to ask.
You mentioned once that you involve the community in the construction process.
No, in fact, I didn't. I involved the community, but not. It was not involved in the design process. Yes.
But then, how do you explain the design to them then?
Well, you know what did happen is, remember I said that we were in a workshop, and that as a result of the workshop, we figured out that this was a hotspot, right? So they knew that we wanted to, that we could develop a plan for them to go outside. Like, they share like this, they understand, like in Islam, there's no public space, they're losing an opportunity for kids just to be outside. And it's such a precious space. And we took the time, every time we developed these interventions, we took the time for them to understand why are we there? Like, which is our role is not, it's not to actually, they're not the clients of this formula. It's more about the interdependence of, you know, why I want to live in a better city, and under this extreme complex crisis that we live in, if I keep working for the 1% of the population, that, you know, is what you always thought about architects, you know, I'm going to keep working for the common city or the formal city, then my quality of life, if they're not live in a better better conditions, if their choices and opportunity don't enlarge, then my quality of life is not going to improve. Okay, so I'm there because I do have skills. I'm sure that I have skills that could allow to tackle this problem in an unconventional way, because they've tried, like for example, as a result of that workshop, and we always talk about what what project do you think that could help you? And the community said, and that's the first answer that you're going to get it, well, we have to build a wall that surrounds the square, okay? And that wall will not allow, and that will be a key, okay? So no one can enter, and we decide like, no, that's what's gonna keep the thief outside of the door. And I cannot do that. That's not, but that's where the conversation starts. So we said, okay, we think we might get another answer. So let us like to think about it. And then we work like, the conversation is continuous. Like, this is what happened, that, you know, the conversation starts. And once we get an idea of where this is going, we present the project. We said, okay, first to the teachers, okay, so this is something that we think this would work, but we need the program. Do you think that how it suits to the program? Okay, I think we can maybe get some classrooms outside or play, or, you know, there is like this library and they have these puppets, and, you know, they can use it as a background, and there's a list of activities, and we talk about with the youth about what would it take for them to go outside, and they just, you know, I just want to see it in the middle of the square. So there's like this really interesting configuration of how to see it. You know, it's probably one of the most particular pieces of their installation is, you know, how to build, if you want to, I don't know, be in front of the spot, you have to articulate, you can arm like the kind of where you sit. It depends, you know, it's like a Lego. It's like a Lego game, and the whole thing about, you know, configuring the set of where you're going to sit as you know, as your needs. It's already a opportunity for you to, you know, to gather the people and participate in the articulation of the program. So no, they did, you know, it's not about for us. They were aware of what, they were all aware about, like what we were thinking about, but we also keep the surprise element, and they were surprised. Like, this it's something that no one always think about, but for us, you know, to have that moment of this is something I've never seen before, and if I delegate that, you know, to give them like, what do you think about it? It's not, I don't know, it's not the kind of questions that we're interested about, and it's because we don't find participation, that kind of participation. It's more about, you know, the program of the piece, and make them aware of what are you doing, and what are they supposed to do with the piece, and to suit them how much time do they have to actually came out and do this thing. So yes, it's another kind of involvement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Come on, someone else wants to know something about Spot.
Can I ask a question? I know I'm not a student, but I'm just,
Of course,
I have a lot of
yeah.
questions. It's just,
Okay.
it's just that we've been following you guys for so long that, and we are great fans of what you do. So we have,
Thank
so
you.
I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask you two.
Okay.
The first one is in regards to the relation between Incursiones and, let's say, the formal realm, that is, you know, governmental entities, planning entities, and so on and so forth. Because what I find interesting is that, well, obviously Venezuela, the Venezuela political system and the current situation is very particular. Yet what you guys do seems to be kind of completely contradicting whatever apparently happens in, you know, in the everyday realm, specifically from what we hear from the outside. Now, I wanted to understand how is that relationship between the projects that you guys do. I mean, the three of these are perhaps my three favorite Incursiones projects. So it's kind of a general project, a general question of how do you deal with, you know, I mean, what are the regulations? How do you guys fit into it? What is the relation to, you know, some governmental entities that sort of have certain backlash or normatize things? I don't know.
Okay, so uh, with every single project has their own experience. Okay, in the slums, like these vulnerable communities, the permission, the regulation is not as clear. Is some people basically. So you have to find the community leader. Okay, you have to find them, and you have to, you know, it's not about permission. It's more about no, permission is not the word, because I'm not asking, it's never about ask them the space. It's about what can I do to make sure it suits for them, but more of it's not about their necessity, it's about the time they have. You know, every single installation, especially in those contexts, it's like you're putting something over broken promises. Okay, that's there. So when I said like I'm going to build something, I need to be sure that all the power structures that layer in this community, that the community leaders is something, but for example in other communities I have to talk with the gangs, you know, like the kidnap guns, the gangsters. I don't know how you translate that, but I've been in that position. So, and it's crazy, but you know, you can create this kind, like the well-being of a community that that stops receiving attention years ago. When you go there and you put like, I don't want to, you know, to just to give you something that, you know, this is not my social work, this is my work. Okay, I'm gonna give you quality, because I believe that if I give you like the best talent I have inside those classrooms and in my team, maybe I can make a difference. Okay, so the what we find out is that opens doors in every single scenario. Okay, now with this works in this is how it actually works in the more informal scenarios, so not the slums. Now, it's in the scenarios like, for example, the first place where we put the catalyst cube, that is more formal, there is like the figure of the municipality, and you have to get like the permission and everything. And in the reason why we can't, like, you know, do this is because when there's no one doing anything, okay, the resistance of someone, you know, to give you that permission, it disappears. Everyone goes there, you know, with ideas. I want to do this, you know, I have imagined this, and we went there with projects, okay, with projects that sometimes they're, you know, I like, for example, in the case of Paradiso, the first impression of the municipality was, well, you're going to lose your money. People first is not going to understand what you're doing. It's too weird. This is going to disappear. Like, if you're going to put that, for example, this was one of the conversation. If you're going to put this garden here, okay, well, we're going to have police to be here, you know, I'm going to put like 2 vigilantes in the, and it's like, no, if you put some vigilantes and the installation actually lasts for these 2 weeks, then people is going to think, oh, of course, it's because this figure exists, okay? And it's the opposite of what we want to. So yes, this garden might disappear, and that is valuable information. But if it's not disappear, it's even more valuable information. Okay, so yes, it's about, you know, I trust, you need to trust me so I can trust you, and you have to trust the whole process. And again, yes, it's like everything we do, once it's in the public space, like we registrate everything, and this is like what we are, but we're excited only to see what it happens. Like it's like a question. We are building questions, okay, about, and people react to that. It's like, why would someone put something like this? What did they want me to do? And they start to reach for an answer. And yeah, it's like there's a lot of like game theory, like play theory, playground. I don't know if you heard about the theory of game. Like you like play games, they are invented for you to play. That's it. And it's the same. People react the same way. Like they think there is an invitation, an open invitation, and there is like this free will about getting involved, free will of being part of that. That I think that's what is actually make us know to do this kind of activities over and over again. So yes, the reaction, it's been, I mean, every year it's been different. Like for example, right now, at the beginning, it was always about, you know, to interact with each other, and you know, it was more cultural installations. The cultural fact of everything was there. But right now, it's like we're facing another kind of questions, because priorities are changing. Like everything, we're working in an urgency. The urgencies are there, and so the installations allowed us to talk about subjects like gender equality, about food security, about always co-responsibility. And I think that's like the free pass we have. And we do have like some free paths. But again, it's like I'm delivering the whole project. This, like when I move, it's like I have this idea, and this is the person who is going to, this is the grant I gave, like this is everything I have. And I always bring like the universities with me, like, you know, they want, and you know, it's not only like two girls, like two women alone. No, it's I deliver the whole package. It's like, you know, at the time I am in front of the mayor, I have all the answers. Like you just need to put me give me the permission. So yeah, it's what it's been like, kind of the situation.
Sebastian, are you asking your second question?
Well, I was, perhaps someone else can ask something else, and then I'll come back, so I don't, you know.
Ask me about it. We have a spot, and we have the Catalyst Cube. The Catalyst Cube has a couple questions. The implementation manual. I think that's kind of interesting, because you're not supposed, you're not doing this experience actually to design an object, is to design an implementation manual that has an object in it. And the thing with the Catalyst Cube is our client, this installation do have like a special request from the British Council. The cube is a result of a cultural exchange between Incursiones and a UK architect. His name is Will Sandy. So he came to Caracas, and he didn't understand like the rules. Like, he thought this was crazy, like how people, you know, tackle everything. And as a result of, especially seeing for the first time as someone from UK, the slums landscape, he thought, you know, we have to create something that could actually fit into so many different requirements. So the thing about the manual is we don't usually understand or design the object itself and expect them to do the miracle. Okay, it's always a program, it's always an implementation. Like the implementation is not about how do you use the object, it's about what questions you could put on the table so the organization that it's required for them to actually work, or to help to to change maybe a mindset or improve a condition actually happened. Okay, that's what we conceive as an implementation manual. But the British Council they didn't understand, so they said, no, your work is only the design of the piece. I'm going to take care of everything. Don't worry. It's not that. You have this awesome object. It's going to be enough. And we said, okay, perfect. Good luck. The good thing about the cube is they have to put it. It was like for a whole year that it was this year, but it didn't happen because of COVID. So right now we're waiting for the cube to go to another places. But they were not actually going to do that one time. They have to implement the cube like at least 4 times. So I just knew that once they put the cube in the first place, they were going to call us and said, this is not it. Like, I have no idea, not how it works, because I share, like, this is the manual of, okay, you need at least to know how to open the cube, and then, the pieces, like, this is something that is like the most architectural thing that you can deliver. It's like, this is how this object works. That's it. But it's not going to be enough. I'm telling you. And they come back and said, you're right. Like, how do I get people to know how can I make program? How this activity, how they communicate with me, how they organize, how do I have to deliver the key to someone, how it works. And when I'm going to another community, like, where do I put the cube? Who is going to be in charge of everything? How do I get people to know that it's coming? You have to prepare, like, the not only like where you're going, like the site. You have to prepare people to actually make the best of it, because that's the whole point. Like, how, if you're already making the investment, like, you have to take this cube and put it in not such a easy environment. At least you have to make sure that this is actually improve something. And well, right now we are working in that manual, because and how it works, for example, in the case of the cube, is before the cube arrives to a community has to apply. Okay, so they need, like, is a formal apply. They need to tell us, like, what kind of activities they imagine they can do with the cube. I'm not telling you what the cube is going to help you. It's going to help them. That's something that it's like a framework. So for communities, they said, I want to make entrepreneur workshops. I want, there's hairstyling. This is something that it's really powerful in this community. So that's what we're going to use there. But at the end of the afternoon, we're going to use it for sports. So, and they have to organize themselves to actually create this, how the activities are going to, be happening. And once they create this, and present this, I said, okay, this cube is going to actually work, and I can, as the designer, help them to actually use it as it best, as it full. So, and that's something that I find really interesting in the exercise that you're about to do, because it's not only about the object. And when you think about the implementation manual, you think about, you know, it's like the instructions, like the IKEA instruction about how to build this. And it's not only about it, it's also about what kind of questions you can put there to, you know, to help the person who is going to move this and, you know, and appropriate this kind of object, you know, to get the best of it. And for me, it's always about questions. Like, it's not about like, these are the rules, like do not, or try this not. It's about how it will fit for you. Like, you know, think about this. And maybe if you can do this, how many people is going to live inside of this infrastructure, or what kind of activities. This is like, you can, I don't know. So think about it like that. Don't think only about the piece, because again, it's not going to do miracles for you or for anyone. What else? Another question. Someone wants to know anything about the Catalyst Cube or Paradiso?
So sorry, Aryan, you have a question. Go on.
Like, I just wanted to ask, like, what sort of workers and co-workers were involved in the 3 projects?
Okay.
For the construction.
For example, in Paradiso, we have they're all prefabricated, but you have to assemble them. And that's when the local, sometimes, yeah, it's when the local profiles or, you know, works get into. For example, in Paradiso, we need carpenters. I said it's like, you know, specialists with wood. That's the only, and we have someone who was taking care of the nursery, like this semicircular where the little plants were. We also work, for example, all the plants, they were from local stores, like the plants, and most of the plants came from citizens. So that's like, it's not only about construction, like it's the pieces of an installation they could come from other things. Like, for example, the plant is a piece, it's a central piece, okay? And there is a strong link between, for example, like the local stores that work surrounding. They went there and they talked to the children about, oh, this plant comes from this part of the city, you know, and this kind of links, you know, it's like different forces that are related to it. And in the case of a Catalyst Cube, it was a little more complex object. So we work with design production. We work with another architecture assigned. We work with Will, that there were a lot of designers involved. And it was like a special workshop facility. And one of the reasons why is because at the moment the cube was being built, we have like this crazy it's not a shutdown, it's like a blackout, like we were out of light for days. And to concentrate those processes, and especially because of this was a complex object, it helped us. Like the workers sleep there for a month. They live inside that space for a whole month. And it's always about the logic, you know, sometimes including others, of course, it's always, especially if they're like from the community, it will help to talk about identity, to talk about ownership. okay? But you have to make sure also that the process is as effective as it could possibly be. And so you start to asking yourself like, well, and of course, I'm talking about this crazy scenario where scarcity is present, where you don't know where like a monster is going to come, you know. So I try always to concentrate responsibilities, especially when it comes to building the pieces. I think the most interesting one of the three of them, it was Paradiso, because we build the pieces of the installation inside the municipality, so they give us the space. We bring the students. We bring there was like this cultural facilities surrounding the square, and they help us. They didn't understand. No one understands what we're doing, so it's easily for them for us just to show them. So we invite them to, you know, it was like playing Lego. It's really easy to just to make them. And in the case, for example, of the spot, you know, this sits like, I don't know, it's like building like where you're going to sit it's also like playing Lego. Like if you want to be in front of the installation, you can construct a whole line, but you can also like make these different spots. So it's always about what do you want today, and you know. But yes, it's mostly wood and steel. I guess that answer your question.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question. Yes. So, in all of the three projects, usually when you're formulating the program for the object, what are the activities that you do? Okay, two questions. Do you do activities with the community to figure out what are the things that the object that you know the object needs to have? And if you do, how do you do it? So how do you interact with the people? Like, what are the tools that you usually use to do that?
Okay, I do. You know, I think the most interesting way or reasons why I do interact is when there's a question that I have no idea. Like, I see myself and our team a lot of times, you know, to think about, you know, well, I think this might work. I mean, they will understand. Of course, like they can pick this up. It's not that heavy. And if we don't know it, and we have like the tools, for example, in the case of the spot, you know, like how many people, and we went there and we with a similar like the weight of it, and we try like we give them a kit like, can you carry this? Oh no. So you know, like the wood that we're going to use needs to be a little more, you know, a little more thin. Or I guess every time we think about something about especially something that we think it's not going to work, something that comes from a paradigm of the space of not knowing, we go there and we ask, and it's all about honesty. It's like, you know, we are afraid, for example, for leading this, you know, outside. What do you think? No, it's not. Everything is going to be okay. Like we are going to take care of it. No one is going to. If you put it with us, no one is going to mess around about it. Okay, perfect. About the things that I bring with me, everything that I bring with me, it has some kind of design on it. No, I want that surprise. So if I'm going to deliver an invitation for them to come and, you know, to have a conversation, to have like the, you know, to talk about the inauguration, for example, I think about what kind of object I could deliver for them to say, of course, like I'm special. And that's something that it's really important for us. So everything is personalized. I try as hard as I can to, and all my team. I'm always a little bit playful when I'm talking about people, because everything is so serious and it's already so stressing that, you know, it's about getting around. I don't know. It's like we have like this closeness, and I always take care of it. I always take advantage of it. And because I also, something that I figured out is like the kind of visual resources that we usually use, like for example, like a plan, you know, like a section, don't use that. Like scans, like, you know, the kind of drawing you're showing, it's up to us to make it as accessible as possible. We are excellent communicators, okay? We are excellent communicators. That's one of our strengths, okay? And you want them to feel part of that conversation. So if you put that in front of them, something that they are not going to be able to understand, that's a losing opportunity. That will, you know, that will reject. I found that, you know, the kind of something that it's really useful for me is for them to feel extremely located. Like if I'm talking about the square, I do take the time to draw that square, you know, with all the details. So they say, I know where I know where you're looking at. I know what's the point of view. I've been there. Okay, that's familiar for me. And then I put the installation, and I try. You know, there's these little things that you can do. Like if I'm going to put a human scale in, and I can make that human scale looks exactly like Juan, who studies in that school. I'm going to put that time because it's important. That's a possibility. Juan is going to be there, or Nikolai, or Maria. They're going to be my human scales because I want them to imagine themselves like that's going to happen, and they're, you know, the scale of it. And sometimes, you know, that's you and that's me, and this is how it can work, and, you know, and they kind of engage in a total different way. And it's not only about for them to understand and, you know, to get into the boat. It's also some kind of signification for the whole experience. Like I do that not for them to say, of course, bring it, everything you want. I do that because for me it's really important that they feel as included as they can in the process. And that's the way. Another thing that I do not do is I like the white. It's a terrifying moment, and this is something that I figured out. When you give them like a blank space and draw something, it's terrifying. Like if they're kids, it's okay. But wait, they're young, and you're an architect, and they picture yourself like Da Vinci. They're not going to do it. It's not going to it's not going to help. So I take the pen, so, and I draw it, and even in or, you know, like imagine yourself being in front of an economist maybe, and they give you like this mathematic, you will panic even if you know the answer, even if you can tackle that. It's like they have this misconception of you to be like this elevated figure who knows more than them. And this is another thing that actually helps me a lot, is like I need to born again in that place to know as much of that place or of that situation as they do. And I ask them, ask me about it. Ask me about how is a good time to get. I have no idea. That's why you're so important in this project, because I'm going to mess out. Like I don't have the answers. I have no idea how this functions. That's why I need you as part of that project, you know, as this useful information source. and I want your opinion, and I want you to be part of it, because if you let it to me, I could just go into the office and, you know, start to drawing and designing, and then I will put this, and this might be good, but if you're in it, and I have like for example, information about the challenges you face, the, you know, something that you really feel related to you, or something tragic that happens, that is valuable input, and I'm not going to have it unless you tell me to. That also, my experience has told me that it actually changed. It's like a change, you know, their relationship with the process. Those are the kind of things. Again, everything you give them, everything is a book, it's a paper, it's the manual, it's the way you are communicating things. So don't lose that opportunity, and be familiar, be playful. Imagine yourself like being, and if you cannot imagine being a mother, something that is extremely common to all of us is that we were all kids, okay? So, and we react when people is being nice. We react when people ask you, you know, gently things. That's something I figured out in everything, like, you know, like so use it as much as you can.
Awesome. Should we move to the 2 questions of Paradiso?
Of Paradiso. Well, I think I already like answered some of it. Like the question of Paradiso is, why are you showing us Paradiso? And because it's not, when we create Paradiso, we didn't thought about, you know, implementing this garden over and over again. It was actually our first like build installation. And the reason why I'm showing you that is because there is like this 7-year-old girl who came to me and asked me, you know, why are you putting something so beautiful in a place like this? And I didn't understand the question. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's really cool, like this garden. And she was so afraid that something happened to the garden. Like, she was like at 7 a.m. she was there, and at 9 p.m. she was there, and all the kids were there. But at, you know, for a whole week, she was only scared that something might happen to the garden. And after these 5 days, she asked me, like, why would you put something so beautiful in a place like this? And the truth is, when we were thinking about Paradiso, we thought about a good provocation to make someone from the other side of the city to cross that line and, you know, went to Petare and find this really special place that is the colonial cask, you know, like this place where the garden was, and to see the installation. And we make, you know, all the Instagram, you know, all the communication to actually bring people from the other side of the city to see that. And when we designed the program for the kids to get involved and to make sure that the installation has as many eyes and takers as possible, I actually was thinking about, when my friend from the other side of the city goes there, I need to make sure that the garden stands, okay? And then I said, like, okay, so there's like the week have 7 days. So they're not going to come here any day of the week. They're going to be here on weekends, because that's when you have like free time to do it. So I created an installation thinking about these 2 days, and 5 of the other days, no, the installation was visited for at least 500 kids daily. And I until that moment, I didn't realize like what a place like this and what it's the relationship that we have with this kind of environments, okay? Where nothing good ever happens. And so it was like a mindset changing. And it's also like, if the task was to create a garden at that point for Petare, I probably thought about, I don't know, like, you know, bring the pallets. We always think, if I'm going to, and this is something that we have discovered, if you're going to design something for, or this is what people expect you to do. So if you're going to design something for the slums, you're some kind of designer. And if you're going to design something for the formal city, well, then it looks differently. And you're not going to put the amount of time, and the materials are different, and the quality is different, and everything, you know, is different. And at that point, it's like, why? And I thought that until that moment, it's like, they're absolutely right. Like, it shouldn't be different. And we do that. And a lot of people do that. And the government do that. And the NGOs do that. So when they come to us and say like, well, but you know, you don't have to spend that much time in those places. Like, don't put that much work on it. It's like, you know, it's not like you're going to put it, or even worse, like, are you going to build something like that in there? It's not like you're building it in my backyard. It's like, exactly, in your backyard, you could actually put something like that every day. You went to Disney, you know? And for these places, this is like, especially, this is the place where you are going, that you should be putting qualified installations, as you do in the other side of the city. It shouldn't be different. And there is a lot of spatial injustice there. And it is, you, like, even in NGOs, important NGOs, they're like, well, I mean, like, it's not like it's a private school, so, you know, it shouldn't be like this. It has so many details. And the crazy thing about all the installations that I show you is there is like this circular economy fact behind them. Like, I'm not bringing materials from Italy. Like, this is what we have. There is like profile, it's what we have. And there's like this notion about how to make the best of every single piece of the materials I have. So the reason why Paradiso has these profiles is because, you know, there's no, I'm not missing anything. Like, the amount of materials I'm missing is really, really tiny. And that's how I'm making sure that, you know, everything is as compact as it could be. Now, what it demands to actually achieve, to design something like that, is more hours, because it's not that obvious, you know? My system one, when you see a garden, it's like, probably, well, yes, bring the pallets. We're going to, you know, to make these boxes, and then we're going to draw a circle in it, and we can put this, that. It might cost the same. Yes, it might cost the same. For me to create something, or for my team to create something extraordinary out of, you know, this kind of materials, it brings a lot of hard work. It's to say to system one, well, this is a way to do it, but what else can we do? And where are the reference? So, you know, and it has to be constant, because it's effortless. When you say public space, you already imagine something. When you say mobile, you already imagine something. It's like a straight line. And as an architect, when they say you need to build something, it's like a straight line, effortless line, okay? But in this kind of challenges, if you decide in the conscious way to go into another direction and to ask, yeah, but what else can I do? And what else can design can do? And what if I don't know, and sometimes we don't know how to build things. That's another thing that you have to be. This is not like an installation we did to ourselves. When we did not have the answers, we go there, we share the project, we share the objectives of the project, and people wants to be part of it. They don't know. People wants to actually help to improve someone else's situation, but they just don't know. So for most of these installations, we gather around with, I don't know, the workers, and they said, you know, I want, for example, the
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Sebastian, you have one last question. Any of the students, you all have any questions? Because I prefer to give you all the chance over Sebastian.
Obviously.
Anybody, if you all have? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Great. So, is there any other question that you want to ask?
Okay, I think Sebastian. Sebastian wanted to. Oh, sorry. So Tisa wants to ask, how were the projects funded?
Okay. So, embassy and the embassies already, they usually have like this cultural side of it, or in this case, recently we use like the humanitarian like budget, annual budget. They all have an annual budget, all of them. Okay, and these budgets are extremely specific. And in 2015, we realized that, for example, the Getty Institute has an annual budget that is as specific as public intervention in public spaces for cultural exchange between Germany and Venezuela. And no one is touching that fund. So most of these figures is actually, and this is something that every year, you know, they actually, you know, it becomes, you know, if you don't use it, they just have to return the money. That's how it works. And it works for embassies, it works for a lot of NGOs. So we're constantly finding like these great areas with this kind where these projects can fit. That is our main source of grant, or you know to fund this kind of projects. Another way is to build partnerships for other NGOs. So when you're like, for example, we create like this powerful partnership with a community kitchen network. So every time they want to have an intervention in these community kitchens, they call us. Okay, and the private sector. Normally, in other parts of the world, probably I could go to a government figure, but we are in this really rushed economic crisis, and because of that, we from the beginning we understand that this only requires like different ways to fund these installations. Private sector is always, and especially when the installations are not about only intervene. I'm going to change how this space looks like. It always addresses like the major issues, an issue that wants to be tackled by others. For example, we make an installation we made a program. The name of the program was ñapa, and the formula of the program is we were going to have students and young professionals working with community leaders in addressing real slums problem: access to water, gender issues, I don't know, like a lot of them. And we share it with, for example, an airplane, enterprise, or we always sharing. Like we share, and we build that network. And right now, it's because of we do that is a full-time job, and it's important. Of course, it's not what you want to put your time on, but that's part of my daily job. Like, if like everything we do, I share it with with the partner that it helped me to build Paradiso 5 years ago. And I share it because maybe it's in, you never know where the founded, sometimes you never know what the find, where it's going to come from. So you try to be in the top of mind of everyone. That's a key thing. And again, what we do have that, you know, many of the NGOs do not have is we do know how to communicate. We know you know how to make this drug. We can make this thing interesting. And we have to stop thinking only about architects because, of course, like you can see like a picture of Paradiso and you can say, oh, this is beautiful and I can understand it. But it's really important for me to this businessman to also see that kind of installation and said, okay, I understand what this is about, and they are talking to me too, okay? Because, you know, say like it's not that important for them to understand because I'm not doing this for, you know, for a businessman, but found that it's not going to come from other architects. That's something I'm going to tell you. And most of the things sometimes we do is we're talking to each other over and over again, you know? No, I want the other architect to like me. And it's like, the other architect is not going to give you any money. Sorry. They're going to be part of another kind of collaboration. Of course they are. But founding is, you know, applications. It's such an important exercise about it. And putting yourself in, you know, in the application mode about answering those questions, we found that it's really interesting way of, again, being conscious about the dimension of the piece. They make questions that we never ask as architects, like, for example, which other stakeholders are involved? Like, what is a stakeholder? Why would I want anyone? I don't need anyone. I have myself, like I have the other answers. And that's something that we constantly, like we only need the people that is going to construct the objects, no. Or how many beneficiaries, like why would I know? I have no idea. What's the problem that you're talking to? It's like, well, public space. And sometimes in everything it's like public space. People not in the public space, but it's not about it because they're not going to be interested only of that. They're interested about people not trusting to each other and the fragmented society that we live in, and how, if we want to address, in the case of Venezuela, if you want to address a political change, I need people to understand that the system, you know, where they only, like they give and they give and they give and people do not have to work or for you know, or they do not have to pay for their services, or they do not have to, no, that's not, it's impossible to be a sustainable society. And believe it or not, you know, having these processes allowed me to enlighten things as co-responsibility, okay? For example, I'm going to, this is something that every time they ask me about, you know, but how are you actually helping to address the political change in Venezuela? Because that's the major question. For example, in our context, they want to know, like, why? Well, it's very easy. The first day I arrived there, they say, okay, well, you have a lot of money, so just give me. I need, give me. That's all I'm going to hear. And I say, perfect. If this is how it's going to go, this is the budget, and I'm extremely honest about it. This is the budget. And if we build this, for example, this community kitchen under the logic of give me, I deserve. Well, the only thing I'm going to be able to do is change the door. That's it. I'm going to change your door. But if instead of, you know, hiring someone from the other part of the city to actually take the, I don't know, concrete and put it in the front of your house, if instead of putting the money there, we organize, or you organize yourself and, you know, investment, because it's not like I'm keeping the money, you are investing the money in the community, then we can do the door and the floor and the ceiling and and that's how the whole system should work. if we all have an active role in tackle these problems, everything will be not only easier, but we can go further. So, and they apply this logic in other things in their life. And this is kind of how it works. Okay, someone else has questions.
I think we can make that the last question. If anybody, any other student has a question, we'll take it up. If not, Sebastian, you can ask yours.
Well, my question has been already replied
Okay.
to less directions.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
I think
anyone has another challenge while you're actually, doing the exercise, and they want to, share ideas or anything, or ask me, about this displacement. I don't know if you know, but Venezuela has like this massive displacement, and there is, for example, really good examples of the challenges. Alejandro I can share with you like the investigation, what's his name?
Alejandro Hayek.
Hayek. He's like Alejandro, Ale. For me, it's like Ale. What's the real name of Ale?
From
He, for example,
La
made
Profa,
like this really interesting. Exactly. Yes, he's a friend of us, and they made this with the UK university. I think so. They make this investigation about the displacement in Venezuela. Also, you can see like a lot of articles in Times where it's like this really cool registration about when you are displaced, like what do you bring with you. And this is not only happen in Venezuela, it's also they have this registration in Syria. So I should recommend for you to, yes, look, of course, look what other, trying to find out what other architects are been working on, but also trying to find in other places like photographers, like sociologists, like psychologists, because there's so many things interested. And read about India, but read about Syria too, and Venezuela and Mexico. Like, what's the challenge and what's behind that persons, because they don't want to be in that position. And you can read about, how they express each other, how they feel. Read about it, because you are in this social distant situation, but it could be an opportunity for you to to have a better picture. Okay, so find information in places that you might be surprised how the result is enriched by that kind of approach.
awesome. Maria, thank you so much for this very, very engaging conversation, because it has allowed us to ask some of these questions that always are there in Sebastian and my mind. And I'm hoping that even the students had that opportunity to ask based on the work that you showed. And yeah, I mean, really, again, really appreciate the time that you've taken to be with us. And I hope that if ever the students do have something that they wish to ask you, I mean, we can ask them to like connect with you. And
Of course, you're more than welcome. Okay, this is like everything. If my experience can help others, of course, it's all yours. So have fun. If there's something that you're doing that you don't find it cool and fun, and you're not getting excited, then you are the one who decides. You're the one who can change that goal. Okay, so if I'm not liking where this is going, and I'm not getting excited about building that stuff, because it's going to be stressful, believe me. And if I'm not excited about seeing it build, then you're not going to make it. You're going to quit at the middle of the process. Okay, I'm always excited. I want to see it happen. I want to be that installation material side, so do it, especially in this, at this point. Okay, so thank you very much for this space. you know, you're more than welcome to write me any question or whatever, and have fun.
Thank you, Maria. Take care. I hope that we are able to meet at some point, all of us, again.
Yes.
Of course, of course, of course. My partner he was dying to meet you. And Alexandra is here. She's part of our team. She's right.
Oh,
Yeah, she wanted to hear the conversation, so she's here.
All right.
awesome.
Okay, so bye again, and
Bye.
make it great.
Bye.
Make it big.
Awesome. I hope you all found that to be something that you can really take back and kind of see. I mean, I think Maria really helped us to see how we're not working in isolation, but there are so many people from different parts of the world who are, experiencing a lot of political turmoil, shortage of resources, everything, and then you have to innovate new ways to include that part of the society that is left out, right? So I think that's quite amazing to see that.
Yeah, and I think what is outstanding about their work is the level of sophistication in terms of the design objects vis-a-vis the larger agenda that they are trying to put forward. So as you might have noticed, everything that they do is very worked in a very minute and a very detailed manner. So and which is a very intelligent way to go about it, because on the one side, as Maria Valentina correctly said, these places are sort of uh, more or less destined, or more or less under the presumption that because of a certain economic or social or political condition, they are amounted a particular kind of design, which is simplistic, which is very rough, which is very whatever. So it's not very worked upon, right? But what they're trying to do is precisely to change that sort of notion, wherein precisely is in this sort of context where experimentation and constructive inventiveness and aesthetic, also aesthetic experimentation is very much required, which I think it's something that we need to sort of withdraw from, precisely taking into account that what we are doing is not very different. Of course, the cultural and the social background is different, but over and above, what we are trying to achieve is pretty much the same. We're trying to harness our particular expertise and our particular way of doing, which relates to the ability of design in these sort of scenarios, which of course require urgently, this kind of very particular spatial innovations. So yeah, I think it's good lesson.
I hope everyone else is here.
Yeah.